welcome to the second edition of Inside Hilltopper Athletics. I'm Lynn Ullom. I'm the Director of Athletics here at West Liberty University, and I'm again joined by our head football coach, Roger Waialae. Coach, you got a smile on your face today, so that meant good things happened on Thursday.
Yeah, we found a way to win the game, and that's probably the most important thing. And, you know, what I explained to the team after the game, there's no good losses and there's no bad wins. The bottom line is to win the game, and our philosophy here has always been if it's 2-0 or 99-100, as long as West Liberty's on top, it's a win. Let's move on.
Right, and I think sometimes, especially in this social media driven world and all the commentary, anybody can get on there and type things that sometimes we read too much into it. It's, well, you won, but, or, well, we lost, but we do know there's scoreboards and we keep records, and fortunately we're sitting here 1-0. West Liberty came out on top 21-14. Coach, just give me some thoughts. Sum up the game.
Well, I thought that we found a way to win the game, you know, and that was the bottom line. You know, there was areas offensively where we looked good at times and when we didn't look good at times. Same thing defensively, and most important special teams wise. But in football, and this is the old cliche, you make your biggest improvement from game 1 to game 2. So that'll be seen on Thursday night. But I thought overall we competed a lot better than we did. You know, last year there was games we had the lead in the fourth quarter and kind of folded the tent and teams won. We were able to stop them and play situational football, and we were somewhat conservative. At time we didn't run a trick play, so I know you were upset. We had the shovel pass ready, all these other things ready to go. But anyways, you know, it was about winning the game, and you know, I thought we did what we were supposed to do to win the game.
Yeah, and you did come out of there with a win. It got a little hairy at the end, and
Right.
People like me, and I always said when I coached, I never got nervous. But when I watch games, I'm beside myself. I'm sitting up there in the press box. But it came out 21-14 win. Very quickly, give me some kudos, an individual or maybe a position that you want to recognize.
Well, defensively, I think you got to look at Spanky Dixon had a great game. Cheyenne Petaway played the best game that he's played since he's been here. Obviously, Sean Stevens with the 2 picks, the 2 turnovers. You know, and it's funny because on film we can't tell who caused the fumble. Was it Cheyenne or was it Dixon? Because, you know, they both hit the quarterback and simultaneously the ball popped out. But, you know, coming up front defensively, you know, John Brown and Cameron Rice played really, really, really well for being their first collegiate starts. And so you turn to the offensive side of the ball, you know, Quincy had 95 yards, but if you would talk to Quincy, he missed some things. I thought Rayshawn Harvey did a great job for being his first college football game at wide receiver. And then special teams-wise, I thought the kickers and the long snappers performed well. So, you know, overall, we had a lot of great performances. There wasn't anybody I was totally disappointed in that they're not playing this week. I think they got stuff we can build off of.
Yeah, and when I ask those questions, I'm putting you on a spot. And we know anytime we're in an interview situation, we're going to leave people out. There's going to be someone that played well and it wasn't on the top of your head. So I'm already prepping everyone out there listening. Coach isn't going to be able to say everybody's name, but I just wanted, again, just off the top of your head, some kids that played well or positions that played well. What about play of the game? If you could pick one play, maybe even 2 plays, what do you think kind of had the biggest influence on the game?
I think the 3 turnovers, to be honest with you, is that, you know, getting that fumble cause to kind of get us going. Then coming up with the 2 big picks, a pick 6 before halftime and the pick 6 or the interception in the end zones. Those are huge momentum changes in the game. So I thought those 3 plays of turnovers was really what allowed our defense to excel.
Well, we knew coming into the game, new coaching staff there, and they were going to run an offense that you might not see every day. How would you rate the defense's performance? And again, tell our viewers and listeners a little bit more about what we faced. What was that like?
Well, we faced the fly sweep, which is more traditional, probably an offshoot of the wing tee. which nobody runs anymore, but it has options to it, meaning the quarterback can run it, pull it, throw it. And so we had to play a fundamentally sound and responsible defense. And so with not seeing it live, not seeing them run it live, they made some adjustments. And they're a great coaching staff. They don't have that experience where they have with their two coordinators and the head coach have also been successful every place they've been. And so, with that being said, I thought our defense adjusted well. I thought we made some good adjustments. We had some players that are normally more aggressive players that didn't play that way. That kind of knocked them off their heels because they were thinking about, this is my responsibility, instead of just going. So I think that was the major component to us stopping them, was us being able to really out-athletic them a little bit.
Right, and getting back into the plays of the game, if you would have asked me what my thought was the play of the game, I would have probably said the pick six. But after giving it some thought, I would say maybe co-play of the game is the red zone interception.
Right.
They were driving to tie the game, and I believe they had a first and goal at about the 4.
Yes.
On that possession, and we ended up picking them off and keeping them out of the end zone. So 2 huge plays. How about the last throw of the game? Did that make your heart flutter a little bit?
No, I thought when I saw them where the ball was and where we were in position, I thought we had really good position. Again, Dixon had was shielding his guy, which was the tallest guy. He's a linebacker, but he's also a great cover guy. He's kind of a converted safety. But I thought everybody was in the position to knock the ball down. I didn't see anybody roaming. A lot of times the defense will converge on the ball and the ball pops out and somebody gets it. Well, they did it right. We got to our man, and then we had the jump ball guys there, and we were able to knock it down and make sure it wasn't caught.
Well, I'll give their quarterback credit. That was a heck of a throw.
Right.
He got flushed, and he's scrambling to the sideline, and he threw a laser. And I'm up there in the press box, so I got a totally different angle than you. And, he threw that on a rope. So,
Yeah.
But fortunately, we made the play, and we come out of there with a win. A new part of this podcast, it's going to be the toughest question I ask you every week. I'm going to call this Tuesday Morning Quarterback. As a head coach, is there anything maybe you could say leading up to the game or any decisions you made in the game that we fast forward to Tuesday, if you could change, is there anything you would have changed?
Well, the biggest thing I probably would have changed is maybe a little different call for Rudy Garcia when he got into a game. Maybe a little bit easier play to make sure he had more success. We ran 4 stops across the board, and he's supposed to read inside out. The outside guy was opening, and I don't know if he didn't see it, not to make it, but, maybe roll him out, let him use his legs, maybe run him because he's probably one of the fastest guys on the team. Just something to get him a little bit more into the game and feeling, he handed off, then we dropped him back and let him throw it. But that's the confidence we have in him.
Right.
But that decision right there for me, I probably should have gone on the headsets and said, Greg, let's roll him out, let's run him, let's do something to make sure that he's in tune with the game. Because a lot of times in football, you're sitting there and it takes a hit almost okay, I'm ready to go now.
Right. And again, we call it Tuesday Morning Quarterback because we have the ability now 4 or 5 days later to pick apart anything, and he very easily could have thrown a 15-yard completion there, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. So that's what's neat about this segment is
Right.
we have time to sit back and evaluate. Last thing in this segment, because I'm big on this, I know as a coach, I was fortunate enough that I had, and it's almost, I always consider it a complimentary term when you call somebody a role player. Because we don't win games if people don't have roles. And your role could be the star. Your role could be you're going to do all the little things. But give me an individual or a position that we could call it the unsung hero of the game. Someone that may not show up in a box score, but you felt contributed.
Well, two people come to mind right off the top of my head. Number one would be Luis Martinez, true freshman, getting thrown right into the fire, playing right tackle when Neely went down at center, because our adjustment was to move Creech to center and bring in Luis Martinez. And, as a coach, when you're looking out there and you don't notice linemen, that's a good thing. For me, a lot of times when I notice an offensive lineman, he's always turning around and watching somebody run by him. So I thought that Luis in that situation came in, and nobody in the crowd would probably know he was a true freshman other than his parents and grandparents watching back home in San Diego. But I thought that was really, really, really good that you didn't notice him. And he made some mistakes, don't get me wrong, but he played well enough that we didn't notice a big difference. It was like we didn't have to say, okay, back, you got to help Chip. And the other one was Nazir Hobson on special teams, made a couple tackles in the open field that were game changers for us. That could have, one of them was on a kick return where the guy was one guy to beat, and Nazir made the play. So those are the two unsung heroes for me.
Well, absolutely. Well, good to know two individuals. Right now, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back in our second segment and talk a little bit about our upcoming football game.
My name is Jonathan Howard. I am an associate with Premier Commercial Real Estate Services in Morgantown, West Virginia. So I double majored in marketing and entrepreneurship at West Liberty. I also had a minor in geography because I figured I wanted to go into the real estate realm. Originally, the whole reason I actually got an internship with Metro was because of the fraternity, connections in the fraternity, and that's actually how my initial first step to getting down in Morgantown was actually through the fraternity. The reason I like to jump out of bed in the morning and come to work is probably because every deal is so different. In the residential world, I was dealing with a lot of people that wanted to buy a house, but in the commercial world, dealing with a lot of businesses that are either starting up, they're expanding, or maybe they're just really big, massive nationals like Aldi, Michael, some of the big names we have down in Middletown that I'm kind of getting to watch and learn how these deals come together and how they work. I'm Jonathan Howard, and I'm proud to be a Hilltopper.
Welcome back. We're in the second segment of Inside Hilltopper Athletics. I'm joined by head football coach Roger Waialae. In the first segment, we talked a lot about the opening win over Clarion. Now we have our first home game on Thursday night versus Alderson Broadus. Coach, tell us a little bit about AB. What are you looking? What are we facing this week?
Well, they're explosive offensively. They have four wide receivers. They, mixed up. They played with tight ends, tried to run the ball enough to keep you honest, but they really, really took shots down the field with their wide receivers. They got about 3 or 4 kids that can really run. They played 2 quarterbacks, that was probably the difference in the game, is that Mercyhurst was able to get to the quarterbacks, and I think their 2 quarterbacks turned it over 7 times. I think 3 fumbles and 4 interceptions. But when they were on target, they were big plays, and they scored some points against Mercyhurst, which last year the game was 16-3. Well, I think this year was 28-45, something like that. So, we're going to have to, again, even though we're seeing a different type of offense, we're going to have to be responsible in the secondary. We can't give up the 6-second touchdown. If anything, we want to make them drive the field. Then you flip side defensively. Even though they gave up more points, they were able to create more turnovers than they normally do. And so, they start 2 twins, I think, inside, both 6'4" linebackers, so a little taller and rangier from what we seen last week. And different style of defense. They're more of an odd front team, and last week was an even front team. So, and the one thing stat-wise, and I've been preaching this to our players, is that we need to – special teams win the game. AB blocked the punt last week. I didn't know this, but last year they led the country in block punts. And so, I got to see that they're going to try to come and get it this weekend. So, all those things being said, they're a much improved football team. And so, we, our philosophy is, really, we have to get as a program to prepare for each team, like we're playing in the Super Bowl. That's what I told the kids. I said, if we think that we're going to have a week off or this is going to be the easy one, we're going to get beat. That's the bottom line to it. So that's the approach we're taking, and they do have enough weapons that make you lose sleep at night.
Well, let's talk a little bit. This is the second consecutive Thursday that we're going to play on in. Give me your thoughts. Do you like Thursday night football? And then after that, kind of tell us about how your weekly practice schedule changes playing on a Thursday and not a Saturday.
Yeah, I do like the Thursday night games, but I don't like the preparation as you got into that. But, it forces us to practice on a Sunday. And then because of classes, we have to practice late Monday night. When I say late, 7:30 to 9:30, 9:45, somewhere in there. So it's a later night. Then we come back Tuesday again. We're on the field 3:15. And Wednesday you're on the field at 3:15. Just so you know, and it becomes more mental as you get into the year. It's a little bit easier towards the end of the year, believe it or not, than the beginning of the year. But, I like the Thursday night games because I feel the kids get a full day off on Saturdays. When we play on Saturday, their days off are Monday. Well, they don't get a day off from school. They don't get a day off from studying. So they don't get a full day away from West Liberty, but they do get a full day away from us.
Yeah, and as an administrator, I love Thursday night football games.
Right.
I really, really do. And even this week, and all hats off to Rex Lancaster and his crew, our director of athletic operations. We have home events Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it at least gives us a little bit of breathing room on that weekend. But part two of why I like Thursday night so much, I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think when the sun finally sets and it starts to get dark and the lights are on and the backdrop is the trees, I think it's one of the most picturesque settings in all of Division II football. So I get pretty excited. I'm looking forward to Thursday night. Keys to the game. What do you think? Is there one or two things you can hone in on? Do you think we have to do to come out of here with the win?
Well, we got to play better special teams wise. I think that's the biggest key. And turnovers. We were not too many times do you lose a turnover battle and win a game, and we were able to do that last week. But we're going to have to take care of the ball better, and we're going to have to create turnovers against them just to give us some scoring opportunities and play off each other. And, our first score came off a fumble recovery. Then we had only one really good drive, but we were able to move the ball at times against them, meaning we were pinned back and got a couple first downs, flipped the field position. We did do those things offensively, but we have to finish drives, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing is offensively is finishing drives this week.
Well, let's shift gears here and let's have some fun. What's your favorite sport to watch?
Probably golf.
Well, I was hoping you're going to say that because for those of you out there that don't know, Coach is an accomplished golfer, one of the better probably golfers in our area. You coached our golf team for a number of years here. So I'm going to even ask you a tougher question. The new golf league, the LIV, where do you stand on that?
I love it. I watch it, and I watch it when it's on. It's streamed. Obviously, there's no TV contracts yet, but I love the thought about it. I love what they're doing out there. I love the relaxed atmosphere almost. Last week everybody was wearing shorts. It wasn't kind of uptight. And so I like it. I think it's great for the game of golf. Golf is going to grow. They always talk about growing the game. It's going to grow. I think the other thing where people are missing the point on this, it's going to give more people opportunities to play, whether it be on more on the PGA Tour. Obviously, with the people that are moving over to the live golf, that opens up more opportunities on the PGA side of things. So, and whether they battle, I don't agree with the ban of them. I think they should be able to play. We're supposed to be in a free country, and now you can't play here because you play on this tour. I think that's asinine to me, but I coach football, and I'll stay in my lane.
Well, when you're as old as I am, 180 years old, I always somewhat jokingly say competition ultimately is good, meaning I can remember when the AFL and the NFL merged it made the NFL stronger.
Right.
I can remember when the NBA and the ABA merged, it ultimately, Dr. J and these guys come over, it made the NBA stronger. We've already seen short term with what it's done for the PGA Tour. They've increased purses, and they're going to change things around a little bit. So, not that anybody cares about my opinion, but I think it's probably going to help the PGA Tour as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that those players kind of disagreed with, they're supposed to be, I don't even know what the word is, they're supposed to be individual contracts for freelance golf. They're not supposed to be tied into one thing, but they're responsible for playing so many times a year. I think that was an added attraction to a lot of those guys, to be able to spend time with their families. But the bottom line was the money, and if somebody threw $100 million, I'm leaving. I don't care who I'm loyal to. And, it does somewhat, I can understand the traditionalists not liking it, but, a lot of things that people didn't realize, like when Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson played those matches, they had to pay the PGA like $1 million. They got a cut of everything they did outside of the PGA. And that, to me, that wasn't right. I didn't think it was right, but again, I coach football. I'll stay in my lane.
All right, staying in your lane, another just random question. What's your favorite type of music?
I like Hawaiian music, old traditional Hawaiian music. I'll listen to it all the time. Obviously, growing up listening to it, you don't get that anymore. Meaning, even when you go back to Hawaii, there's probably only 2 stations that play the old traditional Hawaiian music, and a lot of the Hawaiian music has gone towards more of the reggae type style music, calypso music. So, but no, the old traditional Hawaiian music.
Well, that's a good segue into my follow-up question, hoping that you were going to say something about Hawaiian music or whatever. Now that the Elvis movie's been a big smash hit and people can go, and it's out of the theaters now probably, but you can stream it. Tell us the quick story. Didn't your dad open for Elvis one time or something you were telling me?
That was probably back in 71, 72, whenever that was, his last concert in Hawaii. My dad and them were the prelim act, I guess, and then they stay on and the musicians play while Elvis is singing, and that's what they did back then. A lot of them didn't travel. It's not cost efficient to bring your whole band over, and so, yeah, that was a long time ago, and I remember sitting on the drum set in the back of the stage, and back then it was the HIC Arena. Now it's the Blaisdell Arena in Hawaii, so that was a long time ago.
Well, there you go, something that maybe the people didn't know. Coach Waialae and Elvis were like hanging out together.
I didn't even see him. I saw him on stage, but I never got really close to him.
Well, the last thing that I want to mention here on the broadcast is not only do we play Alderson Broadus here on Thursday night, kickoff is at 6 o'clock, not 7, so I hope everyone makes a note of that, but we're going to have a little special ceremony at halftime. It's the 50th anniversary of the first overtime game in college football history. So when they changed the rule 50 years ago and they were going to add overtime, for all those Notre Dame fans out there, they still haven't recovered from 1966 when the game of the century ended up a tie. But West Liberty was fortunate enough, played in the first overtime game. Not only did West Liberty play in the first overtime game, they actually won. Jeff Epley hits a 29-yard field goal in overtime to give West Liberty a win. This is the 50th anniversary of that. We are inviting the 1972 team back. And Coach here has graciously going to allow the winning field goal kicker, Jeff Epley, to be an honorary captain. He's coming back to the game, so he'll be out there for the coin toss. We do have a presentation. We're going to honor that team after the first media timeout in the first quarter. We'll read it over the PA. They'll step out on the field, wave to the crowd, and then at halftime, the Dirty Dog Tavern is sponsoring a field goal kick, 29-yard field goal kick, and if the lucky students come out, if they kick a field goal, they're going to get a gift certificate to that. And then the last thing about that kick, which makes it even more unusual, Epley actually got knocked out of the game on the opening kickoff, separated his shoulder. They had to take him to the hospital, cut his jersey off, put his shoulder back in. He comes back up. He's in a sling thinking, I'm done for the night. And sure enough, we need to kick a field goal in overtime. He goes out. We actually have a picture of that, of him kicking the game-winning field goal with his arm in a sling. So one of the things that was questioned or asked when the students come out, are we going to put them in a sling? And we're like, it's tough enough to make the field goal. We're not going to handicap them further. But, Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for
Love
having me.
having you. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And let's hope that we can come back next Tuesday and we're 2-0.
Yep.
Again, on behalf of the West Liberty Athletic Department, thanks for tuning in Inside Hilltopper Athletics.